Hello everyone here, my name's Freya. I see that you guys like to hear some juicy revenge stories, and I thought maybe I should share the story of my disastrous marriage. I was married to Pedro until very recently. We are now divorced, although Pedro still thinks we will get back together sometime. Well, if you had told me that I would be divorced from Pedro, I would have laughed at you. He was my childhood sweetheart, and we were together for a very long time. We had an almost perfect marriage as well. He had a great job while I was a stay-at-home wife at his request. I'm not lying when I say that my marriage was great until we started to try for kids. Let me tell you something, guys. Pedro always wanted children of our own, and so did I. However, his need to have biological children was borderline obsessive. So when we kept trying to have a child and failed, he changed into a horrible man. We tried for 5 years to have a child. Nothing worked. I begged him to let us go see a doctor, but he never did that either. Pedro was adamant that nothing was wrong with him or me. However, whenever we failed to conceive, Pedro would lash out at me and call me names. Those were one of the darkest periods of my life. I was at home, constantly on edge and stressed out about having kids. Pedro's horrible mood also created a lot of problems for me. It broke my heart to see how my marriage was changing. I tried to talk sense into Pedro and tell him how his behavior was hurting me. He was having none of it, and after 5 whole years, Pedro finally agreed to go see a doctor for our fertility issues. I was really seeing some hope in repairing our marriage. I was glad Pedro was finally listening to me. That was until I was hit with the worst news of my life. I found out that Pedro was cheating on me. It was a work colleague of his who informed me. He had spotted Pedro kissing another woman in a cafe, and he called me immediately. I raced to the cafe in my car wanting to prove this false. My heart shattered to 1,000 pieces when I saw him kissing and openly making out with Maya, his best friend who always tried to break us up and make him date her. Guys, I was blinded with rage and hurt when I confronted them. I said, "How could you do this to me, Pedro? You were cheating on me with freaking Maya? I knew that witch was out to destroy our marriage." "Hey, watch it, Freya. I won't tolerate you talking to her like that." "You aren't even denying it, Pedro. Why would you freaking do this? We were trying so hard to have kids, and now you went and do this? Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore, Freya. I took care of that problem already. I'm pregnant and carrying Pedro's child." I felt like I was hit by thunder. I stood there unmoving at all from the information I just got. Pedro wasn't even sorry that he got caught. In fact, he was defending Maya and being cold towards me. Then Maya dropped that bomb on me. I was so stunned and hurt that I stood there in shock and didn't say anything. Pedro smiled and said, "You hear that, Freya? I'm going to be a father after all. Looks like you are the only one who won't have a child." "How can she have a child, Pedro? She's obviously infertile and can't have children." "I feel so sorry for you, Pedro. You wasted your life with her." "Yes, I know, Maya, but I have you now. Thank God I found you, and now I am finally having the child I have been dying to have. We will be the best parents ever, Pedro. Just you wait and see." Pedro and Maya were behaving as if I wasn't present there at all. Or maybe they were trying to rub their relationship in my face. I was honestly pretty disgusted and wanted to vomit on the spot. My legs were shaking and I didn't know what to do. The urge to throw up was serious, and I didn't want to humiliate myself anymore. People around us were already watching and casting pitiful looks at me. Yes, I looked like a wreck, and it wasn't hard for them to understand what had happened. Still, the mere thought of them pitying me and witnessing my humiliation was too much to handle. I actually had tears in my eyes and said, "Pedro, how could you do this to me? I loved you for 10 freaking years. I gave up my career to be with you, and this is what you do in return?" "Why are you so surprised, Freya? Did you think that I would sit around and wait for you to give me a child?" "We were getting tested, Pedro. I was doing everything to make sure we had a child together. Hell, I would have even used my inheritance for IVF or surrogacy if that's what we needed. But no, you went behind my back and cheated on me. You are delusional if you think I was going to wait for all those nasty results and procedures. I'm getting old, and I wanted a child in my prime. I'd already wasted a lot of years on you in the hope that you would be able to give me a child. I had enough. Pedro said those words with cold disregard. He was even looking at me like he regretted being in my life. He regretted having me as his wife. He was eyeing me with distaste while stroking his mistress's belly with care and love. It shattered something in my heart. I could feel my world crashing around me. My own husband was being so cruel towards me that it had me reeling back in shock and hurt. I had never imagined him to be the villain in my life, but he ended up becoming just that. I stood there with tears in my eyes while they continued their flirting. Pedro, your wife is being such a nuisance. I'm starting to get a headache already. All this stress isn't good for the baby after all. What? Are you feeling sick, Maya? I swear to God, I will make sure no one has the guts to hurt you again. You don't have to stress about anything. You and our child are my responsibility now. I know you'll do the right thing, Pedro. This is what you wanted, right? But your wife is being so dramatic. Look at all that crying. It's really annoying me. I was appalled by the way Maya was making herself the center of everyone's attention. She was intentionally saying things to hurt me and get Pedro's attention at the same time. It worked well, since Pedro was now fawning over her and asking her if she was all right. The sight just broke my heart, especially when Maya said that my tears were annoying her. I just couldn't hold it in anymore. I screamed at her, even as my voice trembled from grief. I said, "My tears are annoying you, Maya? What kind of an insensitive woman are you? You intentionally slept with my husband and now trapped him with a child? This is your plan all along, wasn't it?" "What the hell are you saying? It's not my fault that you were unable to satisfy your husband and give him a child. Pedro was being neglected, and I couldn't stand to see that. You were waiting for a chance to be with him. I always knew you were after him, but Pedro never listened to me. You swooped in and baby-trapped him when you had the chance. Now you're trying to make yourself out to be the hero. You are nothing but a villain." "Pedro, did you hear what your wife said to me? Oh God, she insulted me for trying to give you a child. It's really hurting me, Pedro. I just can't take it." Maya started to cry, and light swayed as if my words had physically hurt her. She was a good actor indeed, but I knew her well enough to know that it was all fake. Again, she was intentionally doing this to get Pedro's love and affection. Pedro didn't miss a beat as he held her and gave me the most intense glare that was full of hatred. That one look was enough to squash any remaining love I had for him. Pedro took things a further step by saying, "What you did was uncalled for, Freya. Your jealousy had blinded you so much that you just tried to emotionally hurt the mother of my child. I will never forgive you for this." "Seriously, Pedro? That's all you care about now? The mother of your child? Good to know where I stand in your life." "That's right, Freya. You are the useless wife I wish I'd never married. You don't deserve that title when you can't even give me a family. Thank God I found Maya. Now I'm going to take her away from you so that you can't hurt her anymore. Don't wait for me. I'll be late." Pedro said those words in anger and left. He also took a lightly sobbing Maya with him, who turned around once to smirk at me. I stood there inside the restaurant trying to gather myself and not break down again. Surprisingly, one of the servers offered me a free drink and told me to sit down and have some time to myself. It was at that exact moment that I knew how caring people can be. The years I tried to have a baby with Pedro pushed me down a dark hole. He constantly made me feel inadequate and often verbally lashed out at me when I got my period. I was already at a vulnerable point in my life, and his taunts made it seem like I was responsible for all things bad that happened to us. In fact, I started to take his abuse and fell down a hole of self-hatred. The server's act of kindness brought back those bitter memories of when I cried endlessly while Pedro berated me. It made me remember that people care, but my own husband never did. That sealed things for me. I was going to leave him, but not before I taught him a nice lesson. The opportunity presented itself to me soon. I didn't even have to rack my brain to come up with a plan for revenge. All I had to do was take a peek into the results of all the infertility tests we had done. The results absolutely blew my mind. I laughed hard when I opened those damn results, and suddenly things started to become very clear to me. My plan of revenge was served to me on a silver platter. I was only waiting for the perfect time to strike. God is truly good, because my perfect day of revenge arrived not even a month after everything went down. I was already in the process of filing for divorce and submitting all the proof of his cheating to my lawyer. We were going to have a field day with it. I knew Pedro was trying to delay the divorce because he didn't want to spend money on it. Instead, he was busy showering Maya with gifts, which she never forgot to send me pictures of. She said, "Do you see these, Freya? Pedro is already showering me with gifts, and I'm barely 3 months along. He promised to bring me more gifts tomorrow." I'm glad you're finally able to get the life I had. You've been wanting this life for a while now. Enjoy it while you can, Maya. Trust me, your happiness won't last. You little witch! You think you still have a chance with him? Think again, Freya. Pedro is mine, and he will always be mine. You should count your days, because soon I will take away everything from you. Bring it on, Maya. We will see what happens. And by the way, you can keep Pedro. I don't have any use for him anymore. I said that and immediately stopped replying to her. I knew she was planning something big, and her words gave that away very easily. So I simply waited for her to mess up so that I could show both her and Pedro who the boss was. A few days later, they surprised me by showing up in my house. Pedro casually strolled in with a bunch of suitcases, and Maya followed in with an evil smirk. I calmly stood up and said, "What is going on over here? Whose suitcases are these, and why is that woman in my house?" "Don't talk about Maya that way, Freya. Jealousy doesn't look good on you. These are Maya's things. She's going to stay here from now on." "Excuse me? Would you mind repeating that?" "You heard what I said, Freya. Maya will be living with us from now on." Pedro said those words without stuttering. I was honestly shocked by the freaking audacity of the man. Maya was still standing behind him and smirking at me. I then knew what her words meant in the text. She had carefully planned this. First, she took my husband. Now, she was slowly taking away my marriage. She started with the house, but I wasn't going to let them push me out so easily. I said, "Did you consult me when making that decision?" "Why the hell would I consult you, Freya? Let me remind you that this is my house, in case you've forgotten that. And Maya is the mother of my child. Of course she'll be living here." "I don't think so, Pedro. I won't allow it. And if you know what's best for you, you will kick her out right now." "What the hell are you talking about, Freya? How dare you tell me to kick out my child's mother? Have you no shame?" "You are truly a shameless woman, Freya. You have no right to tell Pedro what to do when you can't even fulfill your duties as his wife." "Well, that doesn't change the fact that I am his wife, and this house is equally mine as it is his." "Don't push it, Freya. This house is mine, and I will decide who stays here. If you want to stay here, you will move into the guest room. The master bedroom is for Maya, now since she's carrying my child." "Wow, you have some great confidence in your authority, Pedro. Well, guess what? I won't be doing what you said. Only I have the right to the master bedroom here." "Oh my God, did you see that, Pedro? Just look how shameless and brash your wife is. This is why you never should have married her." At that point, I just laughed. My laugh came from the mere fact that she repeatedly called me a shameless woman. I mean, I don't even know how she could call me shameless when she is the one who doesn't have an ounce of shame. My laughter was genuine, and it confused the heck out of Pedro and Maya. I barely controlled my laughter and said, "Oh God, Maya, you are truly hilarious. It's very funny and rather ironic that you are calling me shameless when you are nothing but a cheating witch." Pedro, you need to control your wife. Look at the venom she's spewing against me. It's stressing me out, and I'm afraid it will affect the baby too. Freya, watch your freaking mouth. I won't tolerate you hurting the mother of my child. She is here to stay, and you will do what I tell you. I just couldn't hold my laughter in again. I started to laugh again, just seeing the ridiculousness of the situation. These two idiots had no idea what was about to hit them. I was just going to drop the truth bombs on them and watch them scramble to cover their backs. It was going to be an eventful day, of course. Pedro and Maya were now downright irritated with my laughter. He said, "Why the hell are you laughing? Who the hell are you even laughing at?" "I'm laughing at the two of you. God, you can be so naive, Pedro. Do you think Maya is the mother of your child?" "What? What are you trying to say, Freya? Of course I am the mother of his child. Pedro knows that very well. My pregnancy is not fake." "Oh, I'm not saying that your pregnancy is fake. Maybe you have faked it, but I definitely don't know about that." "Maya is not faking anything, Freya. I have solid proof that she is pregnant." "Okay then, I'll take your word for it. Maya is pregnant for true then. But do you know for sure that she is carrying your child?" The moment those words left my lips, Maya went completely still. Her face turned pale. She definitely looked like I had caught her red-handed. Pedro looked a little taken aback, but recovered immediately. I guess he desperately wanted to believe the fact that he has a child now. He said, "What are you even talking about, Freya?" "She's intentionally baiting me and trying to stress me out. She wants to hurt our baby, Pedro. You know that the baby is yours, right?" "I know the baby's mine, Maya. Everything added up. I trust you. I know Freya is lying." "Am I lying, Pedro? You seem to be extremely delusional. You should have thoroughly checked everything before building up the hope that the child is yours." "Stop this nonsense, Freya. The child is mine. I know that." "Why are you antagonizing me, Freya? Do you want to hurt my baby? Are you that jealous because I've given him a child while you couldn't?" God, Maya's face was a mix of anger and determination. She was mad that I was presenting Pedro with suspicions about the paternity of her child. She was also very, very nervous, to which I laughed lightly and said, "Maya, you might be a master manipulator, but this time you failed miserably. You really should have done some research before coming up with the plan of baby-trapping my husband." "What the hell are you saying? I didn't baby-trap Pedro. He wanted a child and I gave him one while you couldn't even do that." "Here is where the problem is, Maya. No one can give Pedro a child, not you and definitely not me. Remember the fertility test that Pedro and I did? The doctor's results came back and my husband is infertile." There was a pin-drop silence after I said that. Maya was now completely pale and Pedro looked equally horrified. In his subconscious, he had thought about this possibility. That's exactly why he was in a rush to prove that I was the one with the problem. Well, I'm not, actually. Pedro is completely infertile and cannot have children in any universe. The doctor's results prove that completely, but Pedro was still baffled by what I said. "What are you saying, Freya? No, this can't be true. I can't be infertile. You're lying." "No, Pedro, I'm not lying. I have nothing to gain anymore since I have already decided to divorce you. I'm telling you the truth. That child is not yours. Maya, in all probability, cheated on you." No, don't listen to her, Pedro. I didn't cheat on you. The baby's yours. I swear to you, Pedro. You have to believe me." "What is the use of lying, Maya? I have plenty of proof that Pedro is infertile. You really need to stop embarrassing yourself now." "I need to see those results right now. Give them to me." I did exactly as he said. I went to the master bedroom to fetch the fertility reports. When I returned to the living room, I saw that Pedro was sitting silently while Maya was trying to tell him how the child was his. I went to Pedro and gave him the reports for him to see. Maya stood there like a stone while Pedro read the results. I was smirking at both of them the whole time. My heart swelled with happiness when Pedro's eyes bulged, and he realized that I was right. Pedro had just played himself horribly, and now he was going to pay for what he did. The moment Pedro read the complete report, he started to yell at Maya. He went completely mad, and I was having some great fun in seeing him berate Maya. After a long screaming session, Maya was left in tears and couldn't even speak. Pedro then said, "You better get out of my sight right now, Maya. You will not be in my life anymore." No, Pedro, please don't do that to me. You know I'll be homeless if you kick me out. My family's already disowned me for being pregnant out of wedlock. In that case, you better find the baby's daddy and make him house you. I don't want to see your face anymore. I can't believe I destroyed my marriage for a fraud like you. Now get out before I call the cops. Maya kept crying at Pedro's feet, telling him some nonsense about how he could still raise the child as his own. Pedro was having none of it. He immediately kicked her out and left her to fend for herself. Then he turned to me and said with tears in his eyes, "Freya, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "Save it, Pedro. I don't want to hear whatever apology or excuse you have. I'll be giving you a divorce so that you can go live your life." No, please don't leave me, Freya. Look, I made a big mistake. I was desperate for a child." "I was desperate for a child too. You didn't see me sleeping around trying to get pregnant. I could have done that, you know, and if I did, the child would have been mine." "Freya, please. We've been together for years. Give me a chance. We can adopt, or maybe we can try IVF with a donor. There are so many ways." "You didn't wait for me to try those before. Now, why should I do that for you, Pedro? I would have stayed with you if you hadn't cheated on me. Now that you have, there is no going back for us." Those were some of my last words to Pedro. Yes, I left him after that. His cheating made it super easy for me to get a divorce because I was a housewife. I got a hefty alimony and even half of the house, like I said. Pedro tried to fight, but gave up when his lawyer told him that he had no way out. He actually cooperated after that, but the divorce and cheating made him lose both friends and family. He has very few people to talk to now. I don't even talk to him anymore. Actually, he shows up at my new house and tries to beg me to take him back. He's miserable alone and wants me back desperately. Too bad for him, that won't be happening. As for Maya, last I heard, she's working at Walgreens trying to get by. The baby daddy fled, and she had found herself to be a single mother. I pity the child, but I'm truly happy that both Maya and Pedro are getting their just desserts.